Don't already. All right, so we're going to start copying an angle, and this first step is you have to use your straight edge, and you're going to draw a base of a new angle. So if you don't give yourself a place to work, then there's no parts to do your construction, and it doesn't matter where you draw your base or if it's straight or crooked. Regardless, you need to give yourself a place to work. And this vertex is going to correspond to this vertex. Talk about that phrasing, corresponding. Corresponding means matching. So when we have the corresponding vertex, it's where we have this matching vertex. We had that word in our parallel lines unit. We're going to keep using it. All right, here's the most important thing that kids sometimes have a hard time knowing where to start. In an angle, you have to give yourself a marking of where you're measuring. This angle has the same amount of degrees, whether I'm measuring down here real tight or outside here far away. So what we need to do first is draw what I call a working arc. And what your working arc does is it communicates where you're taking all of your measurements from. So this working arc takes out this guesswork. So our working arc is the thing that tells you where all of these measurements are coming from. Once you lock that distance into your compass, you're going to draw the same working arc over on your new angle. So that same arc is going to exist. Now, because this distance is locked into the compass, I know right away this segment is congruent to this segment. And I know right away that this segment is congruent to both of those two. Now, anywhere on this arc is going to be my other side of my angle. And once I connect it to this arc, it's going to also have that same length because that's what's locked in. Here's the difference. I need to know where to draw that segment. Whether I draw it here or here or here or here depends on the size of the mouth of my angle. So I'm going to take my compass and I'm going to measure how far open my angle is at that point. I'm going to put my point at the intersection of my working arc and one side of my angle, and I'm going to make a mark saying, hey everybody, this is where I've measured, right there. You're going to mirror that same arc over here with your new angle, and this is why that's so important. There's this much space between the sides of the angle at this point. This intersection here tells me exactly where to draw the other half of my angle. So once I connect my vertex and that intersection, I'm guaranteed that this angle here is going to be congruent to this angle here. I have these two sides are congruent, and I know that this space between these two angle sides is exactly the same because it's what I've measured with my compass. Sound okay? All right, now let's talk about bisecting this same angle. every time that we start a conversation with an angle, we're going to have to start again with that working arc. And that working arc tells us where we're measuring from. So you can open up your compass to any distance and draw that working arc. And it doesn't matter, it's any distance. If you want to make it real tight and small, you can. If you want to open it up real big, that's fine too. What you care about next are these intersection points. These intersection points of where that working arc intersects is going to determine what you do next. You're going to put that point of your compass on, and your compass can be open as far or as tight as you want, because you're going to then put your point on those intersections and you're going to draw two arcs. When you connect that intersection and your vertex, you have an angle bisector. So let's go over that one more time. I opened up my compass to any distance that I wanted, and I drew my working arc. I paid attention to where that working arc intersected the sides of my angle. I used those intersection points to then draw an arc from each side. Those two arcs intersected at a point, which I then connected to bisect my angle. Okay, here comes this section's thought question. What role does that working arc serve? Why is it important? Why do we care about it? Give it a thought. Talk to your group mates. All right, I heard somebody say it right away. It shows where you are measuring from. It's super important to make sure you know the distance between these two sides of an angle changes. So we need to make sure that we show where those measurements are happening.